Hey, hi. Today is another episode of Good Fat Life, and I am so excited to have Alex Cabildo, right, from
Portraits by Alex.
Portraits by Alex. Oh my gosh. I should always write this down. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to have Alex on our show with us today is Alex created this beautiful cover for us. And Alex is doing our cover photos, and he is brilliant at telling a story and photos and capturing kind of the essence. We wanted to look and feel for the cover. It's like, I don't know what that looks like, but Alex really helped with that. And before I introduce Alex more, I want to just give a shout out to Snedecor's Cleaners. They are our sponsor this week, and we love Snedecor's Cleaners. I literally yesterday put out a bag of my clothes to be cleaned, and they will show up tomorrow on my doorstep and all done, and with no chemicals and no harsh smells, and they're beautiful, and the clothes come back cleaner or in a better shape than when I sent them out. So we love Snedecor's Cleaners. So that said, Alex, hey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, so I'm so in awe of the work that you do and the way that you capture kind of a feeling, an emotion, a story. You know, you hear that a picture's worth 10,000 words, and you do a great job of that. So can you just kind of like talk a little bit about that? What's your process? And I know you do family photos, portraits, and let me get the language right: family portraits and senior portraits, right? And
yes.
Are those your primary?
Primarily, we do senior portraits. I would say that's the majority of what we do.
Okay.
We definitely do family portraits. We're moving back into our children portrait division again.
Oh, okay.
So we're excited about that. So that'll be coming really soon. And then we always take care of like the commercial end, the business headshots and things that are needed for corporations.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit. I mean, how do you know how to capture somebody? Because I've seen your pictures and your portraits, and they are beautiful, and you have a way of finding something.
We like to meet with our clients ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we always, even for high school seniors, even if it's a guy, we'll have them come in for a consultation, and we'll talk to them. And a lot of times the guys don't want to do senior portraits. They're there because mom wants them to be.
Sure.
Get the pictures on. Well, mom, I'm here because mom wants me to do it. But by the end of the session with the guys, they're really into it. They had a lot of fun. And they're usually saying, well, what about this? What about this shot?
Okay.
So that's really good. And then with the girls, we like to go over clothing ideas. We have senior portraits have just evolved into such a business that it's not like the old days where you just go get your headshot done and that's it. We do sessions in Ann Arbor, we do sessions in Detroit, Ludington, Pictured Rocks. It's really sort of one of those things that have just evolved to like almost a fashion shoot. But one thing that we definitely don't want to do is we don't want to overdo the makeup or the retouching. We want them to be real. So our big thing is making sure everybody still looks like them.
Looks like them.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, some of your portraits I've seen that all of them are stunning.
Yeah, thanks.
And it doesn't seem to matter what the student looks like. I mean, I don't mean, because there's that adage, if you're not a certain look and type and et cetera, you don't photograph well, but all of your students photograph beautifully.
Well, everybody is really conscious of themselves. It's like right now, talking to you, I can hear my voice, and I'm like, oh no.
Right.
So it's the same thing with pictures. Everybody looks at pictures of themselves, and they're really critical. My job is to look at them and look for the best angles. Look at what's going to complement them, and bring that out. And a lot of times it's the personality. Everybody's so afraid to get their portraits done, and we just have a blast. I have an assistant, Bella Mason. She's just does a really good job with the seniors. She She's really bubbly. She's always calling,
Yeah,
she's calling the girls
right.
queens and saying, oh, you look so great. And everybody's beautiful. That's the biggest thing to keep in mind. I think nowadays with the self-esteem problems that everybody has, everybody needs to know that everybody's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that kind of ties in a little bit to our cover shoot that is coming up with this next issue, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm so excited about it because of that.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, there's just, like what's coming up is going to be exciting. It's going to be dramatic. And I think as far as it's going to be pretty deep, as far as, the meaning behind it, and that's going to be really deep. So I'm looking forward to creating something special for you there too.
Oh, it's and I don't want to give it away because it really is going to be special, but it's that whole thing about being comfortable with ourselves, right?
Right.
And what does that look like? I don't know anybody. I really don't know anybody who can say, yeah, I'm truly comfortable with myself, which is sad in a way because we spend a lot of energy. We waste a lot of energy, right? About, oh, I wish I was this or that or this or that. And, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I did a meditation this morning, and it was around appreciating our eyes, our ears, our nose, our voice. And first I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then as I got into it, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, how blessed we are that these things work, because we see so many people around us that are sick and it doesn't work. And then we can't show up and do anything if our bodies aren't working.
Yeah. And I think it's important to enjoy what we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
To look at the positives of what we do have and not look at the negatives, and as far as with the portraits, that's the thing. You want to bring out them. You want to bring out the highlights, the things that they appreciate, that they like about themselves. The eyes are always incredible. To come up with eyes, you can do something with that. If someone's not happy with their physical appearance, I mean, we have to pose them in a certain way that makes it look good for them. Makes them feel comfortable with it. And a lot of it has to do with clothing too. It's like if you don't wear the right clothing,
it doesn't. That's funny you say that. We were watching a movie this weekend, and I forget which one of that. It wasn't Brad Pitt. It was one of the other actors in that genre, right? And I didn't even recognize that it was this guy until like halfway into the movie. And then it was just that realization, right? It's their hair was cut different. They kind of had a scruffier look. The clothes were not polished, and they just were came across completely different than when I see them in other movies, scrubbed up and cleaned up. And it was eye-opening about how those little things can make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason we love to meet with our clients ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because I can shoot my style over and over and over again, but if it's not what they want, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them.
Right.
A lot of times, especially, when someone finds out that they might have cancer or be terminal or something like that, I mean, for me, it's an honor to do that family portrait or to do that portrait of that person, because they're asking me to basically do a portrait thinking that they're not going to survive, and when you turn around and think about that, what greater honor do I have than to do that?
To capture them.
To capture them.
It's a legacy.
Yep. And, it's hard. It's hard to do that sometimes, but it's an important part.
So how have you developed? Have you always wanted to be a photographer? How did you develop that skill?
9th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 9th grade. One of my English teachers photographed weddings, and he trained one of his students to do weddings, and I just happened to get into that little loop with them. And I just remember getting my first 35 millimeter camera film.
Yeah, film. Okay.
Film camera, and just loving it. And I I was doing weddings on the weekend. It was real interesting. The person I was going with, just basically, back then it was like they gave me $25 a day to assist them, and I'd be there all day for a wedding. And then I turned around and I told them, I said, listen, don't pay me. You're teaching me something that I really want to do. And
Wow.
I think that was the biggest thing, was that it was back then, it's something that I just really wanted to do.
Okay.
So, as time went on, all of a sudden he bought me my first tripod. He put the money aside because I wouldn't take it, and then he bought me a tripod.
Oh,
and then
what
he
a
bought
guy.
Yeah, so that was, and then right out of high school, I photographed my first wedding.
Okay. Wow.
So then when I was at college, living in a dorm, on the weekends I'd photograph a wedding.
Okay.
So it was just, so I just.
So it's been a lifelong passion for you.
It really has. I guess what's really something is like my father, he worked in a factory, and he was always like, photography is a great sideline, keep it a sideline, and that always stuck in my head. And then when I got married, my wife was like, you know what, let's open up a studio. And so we did. So in 95, we opened up Portraits by Alex, and we were on Main Street in downtown Brighton.
Okay.
And, it just took off from there. And then in the summer of 99, we had a fire. We were the music man and Portraits by Alex, our buildings were connected. And the fire took both buildings.
Oh my gosh.
And then in 2000, we moved to our current location at Grand River.
Okay.
So,
right.
but the whole idea was that, sometimes people say something to you, like keep it a sideline.
Right.
So for 15 years, I kept it a sideline. I was always doing something else. I was always managing restaurants or bartending or this and that. But I always kept my weddings on the weekend.
Okay.
And then, then we opened up the studio and went from there. But so can't let anybody, any of those thoughts hold you back. It's like if it's something that you really love to do,
you'll figure it out.
You figure it out, because this isn't really work. It's like when you love it, it's not work.
I get it. I mean, I feel that way about the magazine, the Good Fat Life, and the whole lifestyle brand and everything. I've met so many amazing people that are doing, like this conversation with you, that are doing wonderful things. And so it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like play. And people say, how do you manage? And I'm like, I feel like I'm playing all day, right? Now there's those things that you have to do, but like we were talking earlier, it's like you find people that love to do what you don't love to do and let them do it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as far as like the photography, it is a puzzle for me too, like we talked about before. It's like when I look at something, like when you approach me for the cover,
right?
And then I was like, well, you know what, we could shoot through some lights. You want that warmth, this and that. And we just sort of it evolves.
Right.
And you do, like when it's from inside and you don't have to think about things. You just focus on what the end product's going to be. So I think that's the biggest thing, is the end product.
Well,
and steps.
But I've also learned to trust the process, right? Trust the process. So, you know what you're doing, and I kind of have a sense of what I want. You know what you're doing, and your I don't want to say subjects, but your what do you call the people? Your people, queens, whatever, right? So they have a sense of what they want. They'll know it when they see it, but it's often very hard to articulate, right?
Right.
It's kind of like you know it when you see it.
And then you have to be able to pull it out. Sometimes people don't realize what they want.
Right.
You get the idea, then you have to go with it. That's the same thing with the cover. You told me what you wanted. It wasn't, like
I want to feel.
Right.
I know what I want it to feel like,
right.
but you had to figure out how to make that
so
feeling.
I had to take it out of your head and create this,
right.
Because it's not my cover.
Well, and that's what I love about working with you is it's that process, and I trust it, and I trust that you are going to, because I can't articulate it, but I have a sense of what I want it to be. Right. So would you say that everybody's photogenic? I mean, we always hear about that. I'm not photogenic. I'm not.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I think, you know what, when someone comes in, I'm looking at their face. Yeah. And I'm analyzing it, and everybody's different. One side is better than the other. Everybody does have a good side. Okay. It might be, one side might be better than the other, but it just depends on how you look at it. Someone's nose might go one way. One eye might be bigger than the other. the smile might be a little crooked.
Huh.
So you have to balance that when you're looking at
Yes.
them, you know? So, yeah. So you analyze everybody and you try to highlight those things. Obviously, if someone's worried about, like, say they're concerned about their weight or something like that, you don't want them to wear short sleeves. You want.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
So what are some of the things that you would suggest for people to feel comfortable?
well, I
like
think
just at family photographs, right?
I think one thing that we did, sometimes like with the senior portraits, let's say,
Okay.
we would do like the hair and makeup, which is fine, you know. But if they're not used to it,
Then it's not natural.
it's not natural
Okay.
for them. So then they'll look at it and then it might be too much. You know, it's always nice to put a little bit on, but if it's someone that knows how to do their makeup, that's one thing. You know, you let them
Right,
do it, and
right.
they're used to it. But if someone that doesn't wear a lot of makeup, and then all of a sudden you put all this makeup on them,
I've had that happen before where you're just like, that's
yeah,
not me.
that's not me.
Right.
You know, so those are the things that you have to balance out. And then as far as like clothing wise, if your arm is closer to the lens than your face is, your arm's going to look bigger. So you don't want
That's
that.
interesting. I
You
had
know?
no idea.
Well, the perspective, right?
Right?
Whatever's
Okay.
closer is going to be bigger.
Right? Okay.
You know, so that's the reason you want
So
to wear
we
something.
sit with our arms
No,
behind
you just
us.
cover.
or
You know,
just-
you wear something that's going to cover your arms.
Okay.
You know, so just things. There's simple things like that. And then even like the height of the camera. You know, normally we'll shoot like slightly above the eyes, but maybe we might go a little higher, maybe we won't. You know, depending on the shape of the face. You know, double chins. There's a way to work with that. So there's just a lot of things like that you just learn to
how
do.
to do.
And you gotta, I think the best thing is you have to be able to direct.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a way of directing, it can be insulting, and it can make make them more conscious of it.
So give me an example.
It's just real simple. I can just say to you, like, stick your chin out at me. Just bring your chin down now a little bit,
Okay.
and that just stretches everything out in the neck. You know, because
Okay.
especially with ladies, when I'm doing a business
Right.
portrait, they're always worried about their neckline.
Okay.
You know? So it's real simple, but like from the camera angle, it looks natural, but it feels really unnatural.
Okay. I mean, that's always such a stress as
Right.
having a headshot. I
Right.
have to get new headshots next week, actually.
Oh my goodness.
And that exactly. It's like, what do I wear? What do I, I'm like calling my hairstylist and say, hey, can you get me in before this? Because what she does, I like better than what I do. And
the other thing too is like, how many times have you seen, like even like when people are doing selfies, they always hold that camera up really high.
Right.
It's like, okay, hold it up high. Well, part of it's, it can be flattering, but it could be sort of,
sort of not flattering. Exactly.
And it's simple. What it is stick your chin up, bring it down a little bit, and that takes care of that neckline.
Okay, so we'll have to practice that. You'll have to, when we're done, you'll have to show me how to do that.
So there's a lot of little tricks.
But it's just taken years. But I'm sure that just from what I've seen working with you, it's more than tricks. There's also just like a sixth sense, if you will. Like you just know what to do. You know which trick to pull in or what to do, right?
It's experience.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time. So it is experience. And I mean, even like for like photographers that are out there,
right?
Go find someone that can help you, teach you. No matter what, how good. Even right now, I still go take classes or just to
learn more.
To learn more. It's a seminar. It's a workshop. Oh yeah, that's how they did that.
Okay.
So even after all these years, you can always learn something.
Oh, and that I think that's an underlying characteristic, right, for people I like to be around. Mm-hmm. My French teacher calls it a growth mindset. Yeah. He said, you have a growth mind. And people that are interested in learning and always getting better have that growth mind, and they're fun to be around.
Well, you're right. They are.
Right?
Yeah. It makes a difference because who wants to be around someone that feels like they know everything or they're, always, it's good to be confident. Confidence is good.
That's a great point.
But as far as like being a little, I don't know, what would it be? Overconfident or arrogant.
Or feel like you know everything.
Right. And then that's hard. But like if if you have a mindset like, okay, yeah, I feel very confident with where I'm at with my photography, but I want to learn more.
Right.
I want
Right.
to try different things.
Right.
Maybe there's something in the studio that I could do more now. Because our industry went from being in a studio all the time to being outside in natural light and free and this and that. And now it's, going back to like, okay, what can we do in the studio that's going to stand out? Because back in 95, when we opened up the studio, I was the guy that was going to Kensington, Ann Arbor, and going to all these different locations. So it was different. It wasn't like the stuffy studio or like I only shot certain property or whatever. I was going out and looking for things and doing things that was new and fresh. Well, now everybody does that.
Okay.
So now maybe it's time to bring some special things into the studio so that it's different. It's always thinking like, okay, and now everybody's doing this. What can I do different? What can I do to make me stand out?
Okay.
So, and then as far as business portraits, I mean, when people go to a website, that's what they see.
You're right.
So if you have a portrait that's, not flattering, that's what they see.
Well, and some of them are, you're right, because there are some pictures, but that people will do like a pose or something that is, I don't know, maybe to be different, and it can be really off-putting if it's not done right.
Right.
Right? There's that whole, it does make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as with business, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we fit the branding. Whatever their branding is going to be.
That's a great
we
point.
We want to make their portrait fit that branding, fit where they're headed.
That's a great point. So what do you think of, and I was just thinking about that, how many people don't fit their branding? Right? It's everywhere.
It is.
And one of the things I was really studying last week around branding is it's those consistent things in your branding that build trust.
Right.
Because that conveys to people subliminally that you're trustworthy.
Right.
Because you care about those attention to details. And I just thought it was fascinating. It's just another thing where that does make a difference.
And I think the other thing too is like, I think cost is a thing. I know everybody has to balance that out.
Right.
But if you don't pay a little more to get something that fits, are you losing it at the end? You know what I mean? Like
in the bigger picture.
In the bigger picture, sometimes it's better to spend a little bit more to get that image that you really want than just putting something up.
Just putting something up. And it's at the age I am. It's funny when you're getting we'll go back to the senior pictures. It's you're young, you feel invincible, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be that old, but we are. And those pictures, you look back at it, and my kids and my grandkids love seeing my senior pictures, right? Because it gives them insights to who I was back when I was young, and it makes a difference.
It really does. I think as far as like one thing that we used to always talk about, like wall portraits, family portraits, and that.
Yeah.
When you come into the home and you see something like that, it's sort of a security thing. The love that you feel in the family and stuff like that, it gives confidence, to be up there and stuff like that. It's just like our window. When we put someone new in the window, they always drive by to look at it.
I love looking at your windows.
And it's like, I mean, we used to have, like when we were really doing a lot of children's portraits, I mean, we would come down and on a Sunday and there would be a family with a video camera and taking pictures of their kid with a picture of the kid in the window. And I mean, it really does. I mean, but it gives confidence.
That is so interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective before. That's, wow. Okay. So I'm going to process that one because I can see how that happens, especially because kids want to know,
right.
Who were you when you were young? And I can see that. It's like there is a sense of these are my people.
Right. And then the other thing that we've talked about before was like the digital photography.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
The digital photography, makes it easy for everybody to take pictures. But then what are you doing with those pictures? Are they just sitting on a computer? Are they just sitting on your phone?
Right.
It's like there's something about, I know this is a digital age and that, but there's something about actually having a print on the wall or having an album with the pictures.
With the pictures.
So that way they can be passed on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That, and it's a, okay, so we're going to hold that thought for a second. I just want to do a refresh on the magazine. So if you go to goodfatlife.com, you can get our digital magazine, or you can subscribe and get this lovely printed version. And our new issue will be out in the next couple of weeks. We're so excited about it. And my guest is Alex. He's our photographer. And I also want to do another shout out for Sonetta Course Cleaners, our sponsor, because they make our life. We talk a lot about self-care. And for me, one of the things for my self-care is having my clothes readily available to when I'm running late to get to where I'm supposed to be. I know I've got something in the closet that's fresh and ready to go. It helps my mental health immensely. So Alex, just as a kind of a final thought on that, there are, people are taking, my phone actually has stopped working very well because it's so full of pictures that are on my phone, and I don't know what to do with them. I need to delete them or put them onto files or something. And so what do you see? How would you advise people to balance the photography that you do, which is really works of art, with their cell phones?
On something like that, the cell phones are great. They really are. To be able to go take pictures like we're on a trip and this and that.
Right.
It doesn't replace the portrait work that I do. The portrait work we do is we are telling stories, and we're trying to get, we're bringing out the personality at this moment. So we're capturing a moment in time, and it's more.
Well, I love the way that you said it's secure.
Yeah,
provides
but
a
it's not
safety
just
of
that.
scarcity.
It's more intentional. What I do is more intentional.
I love that too.
Okay,
right.
So as far as when someone comes to me, it's either there's a reason why they're coming to me.
Right.
There's a reason why they want this portrait. It might be if someone does have terminal
Right.
cancer or whatever. That's their reason to come to me, to capture a student this is their time, their senior portrait. It's not just a senior portrait. We're capturing them at this time in their life.
At this moment, kind of like, I don't want to say a pivotal moment, but it is a pivotal moment, right?
It really is. And as far as weddings, I don't do a lot of weddings anymore, but that's something that when everything's done, when the music stops and the flowers are dead and the food is gone and the only thing you really have is your photos.
Are your photos, right? Right.
So when you think about it that way, is it, what? That should be the biggest investment, because that's what's going to be passed on.
Right. You're right. And to have a couple of, we have these bins. My dad has these bins in his house of pictures that have been, the old Polaroids and all this stuff that have been, and half the people he doesn't even know who they are because they came from his parents, and those, you hate to throw them away,
right?
Because people are gone, but we don't know who they are. We don't know their stories, and the pictures really aren't a story. They're just a picture. It's just a photo. But I have a picture of my parents and my grandparents and my cousin, my brother, and I, and it was taken the day of my aunt's funeral. She died young, and it's just funny as you're talking, I'm thinking about it. But I'm so grateful to have that beautiful portrait of my family, because it captured a moment, and that is one of my most treasured pieces.
Right.
And thank you for that reminder.
If it was on your phone, you wouldn't see it.
You're right. And it wouldn't have captured the moment the way the photographer did. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It's so funny. And I even look at it now to see what I looked like as a 5-year-old, and I look at my 5-year-old grandkids, and I can see me and them, and that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, we do that all the time. We look at pictures of our daughter and my mom or Lisa's mom, and there's things that you can pick out that are similar, or with our sons.
Right.
It's really where when you compare them side by side, it's nice to have the physical thing in your hand so you can look at it.
Right, because they captured that look, that emotion, that energy. Yeah. So anyways, well, it's been such a delight talking to you, and I can't wait. I'm thinking, when can I get my family together to get into your studio, to get our family photo, which we've never done.
Well, we'll have to plan it out.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So thank you so much to my guest, Alex. Oh my God, this is what happens to me. I get. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
Because my brain starts spinning, and then anyway, we are who we are, right? Right. So, Alex, I would just say, let's just go out and live our good fat life.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.